So, preface. This is my first more analysis-oriented video essay, and therefore it will have a much different tone than my other video essays. Less personal and emotive, and a much less serious tone. Sorry for the inevitable controversy that will hit because of this video. Alright, let's get into it. It's August of 2019. There are no world-threatening diseases running rampant. There is no mass hysteria about the crash of the economy. Everything, for what we know now, is relatively normal. Yet something is about to sneak up on pop culture and, as radical as this may sound, change the landscape of cinema forever. And that is the film Joker. Now, hold on, I can hear both sides yelling at me in hysterics. The left has their pitchforks ready to throttle me into oblivion, and the right is about to tout me as a hero of epic proportions. And I haven't even given my opinion on the film yet, so in order to cement myself into the making of this project and raise the stakes a bit, here it is. It's fine. Good things about it. There are bad things about it. Ultimately, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I know. Everyone's mind has just been blown. No, my opinion is not on the extreme of either end. And I understand if that comes off as a surprise, because if you look at movie reviewing sites like Letterboxd, the most popular reviews for columns and columns are mainly either between 2 and 4 and 8 and 10. You gotta understand though, I'm not judging anybody for their opinion on Joker, as feelings are one of the only things that are always completely valid. And that's the reason I'm making this video essentially. I was talking it over with my mom the other day and we came to a pretty interesting conclusion. Joker, as a product, is genius.
What genius? This can't possibly be true. You just said that you thought it was mediocre. Alert! Contradiction police. We have a first-rate offender who must be hauled off to the slammer.
Hold on. Before you sharpen your blade of cancellation to thrust swiftly into my heart, I expressly stated that I thought that it was genius as a product. I still stand firm after 3 separate viewings, including one right before writing the script, that the film is just iffy, shaky, whatever you want to call it. But the idea of Joker, as I've begun to think about it more and more, is just brilliant. And the people who need to be accredited with his brilliance are Joaquin Phoenix, Todd Phillips. Trust me, it hurts me to say that as much as you think it does. Co-writer Scott Silver and Warner Brothers. So I am giving props to this film as a product and not the film as a film. I get it though, you still have no idea why I'm saying this, and you have every right to tell me off at this point. But before we start to get into my main points, let's go through the pages of history and look at the backstory behind this video real quickly. Or unfortunately, maybe not so quickly. As I mentioned earlier, Joker was thrust into the limelight, mainly after its premiere at the Venice International Film Festival, where afterwards, it received an 8-minute standing ovation. Even though standing ovations are becoming more and more common at festivals, this is still something that is a pretty significant accomplishment, and within the next day, the media was all over it. While there were definitely some critics lauding it as the next Dark Knight, people like David Ehrlich from IndieWire, I hope I'm saying that name right, called it a toxic rallying cry for self-pitying incels. The love was absolutist and the hate was vitriolic. Although all of these opinions definitely made waves in the film community, Venice is a pretty exclusive festival, so the chatter didn't get cranked up to the maximum volume until a week later when the Toronto International Film Festival took place, which is a much more public event. People from mainstream media outlets started really getting on the hype train, with Perry Nemiroff from Collider, and you all know my thoughts on Collider, calling it very well made across the board and one of the most unnerving films she had seen in years. And that seemed to be the real draw of this film to people who loved it, is that it was representing the dirty underbelly of mental health in society and how realistic a situation like this seems in our modern landscape. And the people who hated it seemed to feel like the film was trying to humanize Arthur Fleck, who was an actual murderer, and by proxy, was giving a pass to all these incel-like characters who oftentimes turn into mass shooters, and that the material of the film was just handled poorly overall. Oh, and a lot of dunking on Todd Phillips, which I will say is definitely worth it. Oh yeah, Todd, all the kids at the beginning had to be POC, and don't even get me started on the whole dwarf joke. See, you still got some of that Hangover trilogy shining through, buddy. Sorry. I got distracted by Todd Phillips' blatant insensitivity. Anyways, the rave reviews and Oscar buzz coming out of TIFF, as well as the critical lambasting from more art house critics, led all the way up to opening night on October 4th, where, because of many reasons I am to discuss later, fans came out in droves and left from the theater with the exact same polarizing reactions. Some loved it, some hated it, and there seemed to be a lack of an in-between. All of my friends were on either side of the war, waging in every sect of the internet in debates and get-togethers, and I found myself alone in the middle with no ship to jump on. Looking back on this, I can't believe I didn't see the genius when it was being presented right in front of my very eyes. Speaking of, we got the backstory out of the way, so it's as good a time as any to upset some people. So it's actually pretty simple when we look at this like a mathematical equation. The first element we add is the Joker itself. Making a film about Joker was inevitably going to happen, and when it inevitably happened, it was going to make a butt ton of money. Yet somehow I don't know if I, or many other people for that matter, thought that an R-rated Joker film had the ability to make roughly $1.1 billion at the box office. One, because the R rating definitely excludes some people from going to the film, and two, because The Dark Knight only made $1 billion, and that is known as the definitive most popular superhero movie of all time. I know inflation is a big thing and that Joker is still a big part of pop culture, but 5 years ago, I doubt cinephiles would say that Joker had the potential to make $1.1 billion. So why did it have such immense success? Well, let's add in another aspect, and that is superhero fatigue. I've talked about superhero fatigue before, but just in case, a good amount of people have been sick of the Marvel formula for a while, which includes bright colors, extensive fight scenes, and quippy dialogue. So instead of that, Joaquin Phillips said, what if we masqueraded a film about a classic superhero villain with his name as the titular character, but when people get to the theaters, it's actually a psychological thriller about a mentally unstable citizen. By doing that, you pull in the superhero fans who will go see any property with a name that they even remotely recognize attached to it. You get the general audience because of how big of a property Joker is in the first place, but you also get the more cinephile-leaning people to go because of the art house vibe that the film emits from it being shot on film and the more slow burn pace and atmosphere. So now you get the butts at the seats, but that's not truly enough, is it? In order to make a gigantic splash, people need to spread the word about it. So we now add in another facet, which is the plot itself. What's the best way to spread the word about a film? Controversy, starting a conversation. So Joker transformed one of the greatest renditions of a psychopath supervillain with no regard for the life of any human from The Dark Knight into a regular man who has been shunned by the system and gradually descends into the deepest realms of mental illness possible. Essentially, let's make the film revolve around a hotbed topic. Mental illness, the government, media sensationalization, throw all of it in the pot. So even if people do feel indifferent about the film, no matter how amazing they think the performance by Joaquin Phoenix and the score is, their personal beliefs will more likely take heed of their reviews, and because of their disdain for Fleck as a character and how delusional they think the viewpoint that the film holds is, they won't be able to stop spewing hatred towards it. Yet, what they seem to fail to realize, which is one of the most common sayings of all time, is all press is good press. And on the other side, the people who do agree with the viewpoint curated will trumpet it as the film that America needs right now and insist that anyone who doesn't agree is unequivocally wrong. They will recommend it to everyone and actively attempt to dismantle any hit piece put out on it. I have something to tell everyone who has been on either extreme of the debate, and you may not want to hear it, and you may not like hearing it, but it has to be said. Joker tricked you. Todd Phillips and Warner Brothers do not care what you think about the film. They made the film just good enough so it couldn't be completely dismissed as a bad film and put in as much current societal woes and highly debated topics as possible and watch the dominoes fall at their feet. They only care about the fact that you argued it into being one of the most popular and profitable films of all time. They only care about the fact that it is now so popular that there is a sequel in pre-production, which will in turn make them even more money and stir up even more controversy, and it will become an endless cycle until we become privy to their tactics and put a stop to it. But that is something that will never happen. And that is why Joker is genius. All right, everyone. So that's it. I said this video would be longer, but I feel like I said everything I needed to say and not a word more. I hope you all enjoyed a more analytical style. If you want to support us, you can like, subscribe. I would be nifty. All of our socials are in the description. Twitter, our podcast on Spotify, and our Patreon, which we just launched and has some pretty solid perks. Also, really quick notification about the future. We will be putting out videos, Monday through Saturday. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will be a more video essay, bigger video. And then every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday will be either letters or quick film reviews of things or movie reviews of things that I've seen or heard. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.